Hi, and welcome to the 2016 Kicking Off 2016 with Google for Education Hangout. We're excited to have some of our different members from across the Google for Education team with us today, and just look forward to sharing with our audience everything that we have to discuss about what we're excited for 2016. First, just want to start with a big Happy New Year for everyone. I know we're just over a month in, but Happy New Year. With that being said, and before we jump right into Google for Education, what's new with us, it's often nice to think about Google as a company at large. So if you're interested in seeing what you as Google users in your everyday lives searched for the most in 2015, feel free to go to google.com/trends/2015 to see what it was that made for the biggest of headlines for 2015. Moving forward, drilling down closer to what's home for us, here were some of the biggest accomplishments and trends in the Google for Education world. So you can see kind of the evolution of Google Classroom over the course of the year, announcement on March 31st, some of the most affordable Chromebooks coming to market, just various things throughout the year. Also very exciting that as of October 21st, we had 10 million active users on Classroom and 50 million active Google Apps for Education users across the world. So keep up the good work. Cheers to an amazing 2015, and obviously we're very excited for this year. That being said, just to quickly give you an overview of what's going to take place today. I'm Brent of the Google for Education team. I apologize, I don't think I've even officially introduced myself yet, but I'm going to give you a quick introduction. Very excited to have Cyrus Mistry, who's going to talk to us about devices. Becky Evans, name who you saw just a moment ago, will be talking to you about our development and learning communities. I'm going to talk on behalf of the Google Classroom and Google Expeditions team about some updates there. And if you have questions or anything of that nature, please feel free. You can reach out to us through our website or to your Google for Education representative. So what does it mean to be googly? We wanted to start off this year, and as I'm talking, you can be thinking to yourselves, what are some words that you think of when you hear the word Google, or what does it mean to be googly? And we start here because there are a variety of different words, I think, and many more beyond just this list, maybe a couple that you thought of. But these are things that we get excited about. This is what defines us as a company. And I think if we haven't taken an opportunity, or if you haven't heard from us before, this is really, I think, what one of our end goals is just to make a googlier world. And the reality is, anyone can be googly. We all have googly traits, and I think that our tools, I think the people that are part of our company are really, that's what we want. Those of you in the classroom and school district leaders and whomever else might be listening in right now that's involved with education. How can we take all of these awesome aspirations of being a thinker and outside of the box and a motivator? Those are the essential tools of who we are that will help enable awesome change, not only in our lives, but certainly in education. So that's what we want to help you to do, and what you're going to hear about today are some of the tools that we have to help you do that. Part of the reason why we start there too is our students are already pretty googly. We might not even realize it. You might be familiar, the Google Doodle. Sometimes when you go to google.com, it's not our traditional Google logo. You might see a logo that looks different. We actually run a competition called Doodle for Google every year, in which we ask students to contribute a doodle. Actually, you can vote right now, believe it or not, as to who across the country has the best doodle. But for example, we have students who are thinking outside of the box, having these crazy ideas of how to make our future a better place. The specific task that we had for the doodles that you'll see here is, if you could invent something to improve the future, what would it be? So we have students in Utah thinking about biodegradable 30-day plastic bottles. A student in Arizona thinking about a natural light-powered flying car. What about the student in Wisconsin talking about Cloud Plow? certainly a device that can, a vehicle that can go up and push clouds out of an area that might be receiving too much rain, or push those rain clouds into an area that might need more rain. Just thinking really out there. Students have a limitless imagination of what is possible, and so as a company and with the tools that we provide, what can we do to help you better enable your students? That's why we're here. Kind of taking a step back and thinking about Google at large, one of the quotes from, and this isn't a picture of Larry Page himself, it's actually Astro Teller, the head of our 10X projects, but with them together and kind of thinking about Google at large, it's hard to make teams, very ambitious teams, but I think the thing that we want to always say is Google, we're not afraid to make mistakes here, and it certainly is going to happen along the way, and that's okay. Putting these tools in place, making sure you have people with big dreams, that's how we're going to achieve 10X as a company, and that's how you can achieve 10X in your lives as educators. Our mission at Google is to provide open technology to improve learning for everyone, everyone, everywhere. And that's not specific to Google for Education. That's as a company at large. So I think that certainly on our team we embody that. But when we talk about accessibility and the reality that only a third of the world has access to the internet right now, constantly on a mission here to make learning and improving ourselves a reality for everyone. Leading into that, I think this is a number that we focus on a lot, and some of you listening might be familiar with it, but it's certainly something that hasn't changed dramatically over the past year or so. So just a second to think about what 60% might be. So if you've had a moment to rack your brain, the reality is that the students that you are currently working with in your school districts, 60% of them are going to have jobs that don't even exist yet. So when we take the traditional forms of education and think about, wow, like I always think about myself, and I'm sure the other folks on the call could attest. I remember a distinct point in my life when I stopped using this search engine called Ask Jeeves and switched to this unknown thing called Google. So even in my life, it's like, wow, like sitting here today, being able to talk to you all about the awesome things that Google has to provide for education wasn't a possibility. So how do we equip teachers and classrooms with this skills and the tools that your students are going to need for working in a very collaborative, team-based environment in the future? Leading into that as well, you can see these when we worked with the Economist Group to see what are the skills of the 21st century. These are what the Fortune 500 companies had to say for what they're looking for. So yes, reading and writing and arithmetic are still very important, very foundational, but what does it look like to be able to sit here in New York City and work with a person based in Michigan and someone based in California and be able to present a scalable message? That's what our companies are looking for, and I think that we're very proud here at Google to be able to offer tools that help students prepare for the reality of the workplace of tomorrow. To kind of give you, for those of you who aren't maybe so familiar with the history of Google for Education, we really started off a number of years ago taking our information, Google as a whole, and as we mentioned earlier, taking our information, organizing it in an easily and accessible way. Thus was Google at large. When we focus a little bit more specifically on Google for Education, 7 or 8 years ago, roughly, we were taking our consumer versions of tools and bringing them into the education space in a safe, in an ad-free way. So taking our consumer tools and making them work in education in a meaningful way. And now we're really embarking upon this new kind of journey, I guess, where Google as a company, we're actually creating tools that are specifically designed for educational users. Everything from Google Classroom to our newer, exciting, newest, really exciting Google Expeditions, where we're taking students on virtual tours, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But in Cyrus's world, working with our manufacturers to create products that are specific to educational needs. And so I think it's important that although we are Google.com, we are this big company, we are at a place where we know and understand the value of really creating tools that are important and applicable in the education space. So really kind of the way that we talk about, our exposure and our presence in the education space is our platform, which is Google Apps for Education. Our devices, which Cyrus is going to talk a little bit to later, and then our content. Not necessarily Google content, but how do we take the great content that you all have been using throughout, your years in the classroom, along with new content that's currently being created, and providing that to you in a very easy way, a scalable way, being able to push out content across multiple devices, in a very seamless way. Quick recap: we're proud that we have a number of higher education institutions across the country and across the world that are using our Google Apps for Education. The most recent stat is that, as I mentioned earlier, we have over 50 million active students, teachers, and staff that are consistently using Google Apps for Education. And thanks to you all, that number continues to grow every day. So yeah, we very, very large presence in the education space when it comes to Google Apps for Education. I think one thing that we have started to do more recently is to highlight the fact that Google Apps usage does not necessarily end once a student leaves, their K through 12 experience or leaves higher education. We have over 5 million businesses that use Google Apps at this point, and so I think that it's great to highlight, the skills that students learn in K through 12 or in college when it comes to using Google tools. Certainly, will have impact in the workplace as well. So we're excited that our counterparts are having such a significant impact across businesses throughout the world. So yeah, at this point, this is when we'll jump into talking a little bit about devices, where we've come from and where we're going to. And I'm happy to introduce you to Cyrus Mistry, who is our Senior Product Manager.
Hi, guys. Very excited to be here and talk to you a little bit about what we've done with devices, where they've come and where they're going, and give you a sneak peek into all the exciting stuff that we're working on. So go ahead. So it's really amazing when you look at the idea of fixing computing. Came about a long time ago, actually. It's almost 7 years ago now. 2009, a team looked at computers, and at the time, the least expensive laptop out there was almost $500. It took between 1 and 2 minutes to boot the computer. Most computers that got slower and slower over time, they got malware, they got pop-ups, viruses, etc. They were not secure. This was the state of computing just a few years ago, actually. And so we said, what if we completely rethought the computer? Because people aren't using thick client applications anymore. They're living in a much more stateless world. Their world is now in the cloud. And so what if we created a device that was much lighter weight in your hand, both figuratively and physically, but was much more leveraging the power of the cloud. And so we came up with a prototype in 2010, and I was fortunate enough to be responsible for business and education for this new operating system. And so I was given several thousand units to give out to schools and businesses and get feedback. Did they like this computer? How are they using it? And the first thing about it was, because it was so secure, right? All user data was 100% encrypted and all this. All of the government agencies, U.S. Army Intelligence and U.S. Naval War College and all these, absolutely loved these. They said, it's the most, you can't have privacy without security. So the first thing is you have to be a completely secure device. And then the schools just absolutely loved this. They said, this is so easy to manage. And then if you look at this great graphic and you fast forward, we said, all right, I guess we should really create this thing and launch it. And it really took off just a few years ago, actually. And as you guys know, we're very pleased that we are now the #1 device. There are more Chromebooks sold into schools than all other devices combined, which is really exciting for us. 30,000 new Chromebooks are activated in schools every day, which is also incredible. The operating system has come quite a long ways as well, right? The operating system when we started was truly just a browser. There was actually nothing else. In fact, you couldn't even make the window smaller. It was just a browser. You could make more tabs or make less tabs. That was it, if you actually, for those of you that remember this from many, many years ago. And then slowly we added multi-windowing, and then we added applications, and then we added Android applications and a whole bunch of other stuff. The devices, when we came out, we had our own little CR48. For those of you that don't know, that's one of the isotopes of Chrome, the elements. That was kind of a fun little name we came up with. And now there are over 13 manufacturers across the world building Chromebooks. When we started, we needed to give schools and businesses some tools to manage them. We started with barely a handful of policies. There are now over 200 different policies, and we don't make you set all of them. They're all, they have smart defaults, what we call, but you're welcome to go in and, modify them any way you want. And so that's really, and an entire ecosystem has been built around this. There's applications, there's extensions. It's just, if any of you that go to education technology shows, you'll see every single booth, right, is talking about what they're doing and what they're building for Chromebooks. So we've been very, very excited about Chromebooks and why it's taken off and how it's taken off. Go ahead, Britt. So what is the reason? People often ask me, as being the product manager responsible for this product line, why is it doing so well? I get asked by the press, I get asked very often. Very simply, the first thing about it is it's extremely simple. If you're 9 or you're 99, you know how to use a web browser, right? You type in an address and you're up and running. It's extremely affordable. Chromebooks, most analysts credit Chromebooks for having brought down the price of computers to $149. Like, just staggering. I mean, these are not netbooks, right? They're not smaller devices. These are full-size laptop computers. They are by far the most secure device out there. And they're also the most shareable device out there. There's no other device where, you could a CEO could hand his device to any worker and know that his or her information was completely safe. And that person, when they signed in, was exactly where they left off. So not only is it completely shareable, because it's got such great stateless characteristics, but it immediately becomes personal. And so that combination has been amazing, and you're actually seeing a lot of the other players out there, a lot of the other operating systems are scrambling to try to do this. It's actually extremely hard unless you build the operating system from the beginning to be built with every single user gets a separate partition, and when you sign in within 3 seconds you're back exactly where you left off. All of your bookmarks and your applications and everything is right there. It's very, very hard to do that with a device. And it's not shareable in the sense that Chromebook number 7 from the cart, I have to get that every time, because that's where 5 or 6 people have shared it. It's truly pick up any Chromebook in the world and sign in, right? Any Chromebook from the cart. That's really the shareable model that's been really amazing for us. So go ahead. So there are a few other aspects of each of these. So when you look at what's really, really simple about this, it's not just that it's really simple for the user. We've taken one other step. We've made it extremely simple for administrators. I cannot tell you how much administrators love these devices. And for those of you that have them or know about these, you already know this, right? I've had people tell me, I don't care if other devices are 3 times more, or 3 times less expensive, I still would not want to go through what I have to go through to manage those. It's truly all managed from a web browser. It's really amazing. We have deployments, several deployments now, 80, 90, 100,000 units in districts, and many of them have not hired a single additional IT person, which is just staggering when you think about that and how exciting that is to think, because and schools definitely have budget issues. And that lends itself to other aspects of affordable, besides the fact that it's very inexpensive. It's extremely affordable from a total cost of ownership perspective. When you start to factor in maintenance, etc. This is also the only device in the world that actually gets faster over time. 5 years later, your Chromebook is actually running faster than the first day you got it. It doesn't get slower because we don't allow you to muck with the operating system. An application doesn't get rights to the operating system to slow it down. It's completely sandboxed away, which is very exciting, which is part of how it's so secure. So go ahead. So what's coming? Little sneak peek into some of the fun stuff that's coming. Excuse me. So on Chrome OS in the actual operating system, if you look at the younger kids in schools, they are very, very used to touch as an interface. This is what they do. In fact, if you give them a laptop early on in their life, they will reach out to the screen and try to touch it, and they won't. They will think it's broken. We've heard all kinds of funny stories where kids say, "My Chromebook's broken because I can't slide anything around." So touch is becoming much more embedded as an interface that people are using, especially when you start to see some of these two-in-one devices that we have where they're convertibles and you can kind of flip them around and they can become a tablet. For those types of Chromebooks, you have to have touch, right? That is your interface to the keyboard and to moving items around, etc. And then we also want to add seamless mobile integration. So for those of you that do have Android devices as well, we want to make it so that you can see information about your Android phone or messages or battery life, etc. Devices, you're going to see a lot more EDU-specific devices, of course, as Matt mentioned. We work actively to make sure that there's a great variety of devices. We're even seeing a lot of people go for the mid-end. For $300, $350, you get a really, really amazing Chromebook for teachers, right? More durable devices for students, padding, if they're dropped, there's cases, there's all kinds of accessories and stuff for these, which is really, really nice. And a nice thing that is going to be coming is all the future devices after this cycle, starting end of this year, are going to be USB Type-C for everything, for charging, for accessories, etc. Which means, imagine now, your carts only need to have one type of charger forever, and when you get a new type of model or whatever, you can just stick it in, which is really nice. You guys know that one of the things that we do, some of the product managers I have on my team go out and they watch how these products are being used and how are kids using them, how are they excited, what are they doing, are they're more engaged, etc. But we notice common problems with how they're teaching, not with the devices, but like the teacher wants them all to go to a certain website, and he or she is out there and writing a long URL on the board, and it takes a long time. And so we want to develop free, easy tools to make it really easy. So now a teacher can visit a website, push a button, and everyone in the class instantly gets that tab opened up on their screen, right? So they can all follow along with exactly where the teacher's going, which is really exciting. It makes a big difference to have that small little thing when you add up how many times. And so this is already being used millions and millions of times, and we only launched it a few months ago, which is very exciting. And you're going to start to see more and more Chrome and Android apps coming. As you guys know, Android developers today can get their app to work on a Chromebook, which is very exciting. And then lastly, in device management, there's going to continue to be more stuff for the IT staff to make it really, really easy to manage these. We've added hardware tampering protection. This is very important. Kids, are very curious and want to know what they can break into by using a screwdriver. So we have made sure that when a device is enrolled into your school, it stays enrolled. It's not going anywhere. They have to be protected, and the school takes it very seriously, protecting them. And other features that people have asked for. People have asked for what's going on with my devices, which ones are active, have any become unenrolled, what's going on. So we're improving notifications for that. We're also, one of the other things that people constantly ask for is, I've got a lot of different properties about these devices, what class they're in, what location they're in, a lot of different attributes. I want to be able to search on any of those attributes. So pull up all devices that are in my Lincoln High School, etc. And so we're doing that kind of deep search, which is really useful. And then lastly, people have asked for simple things like restrict what network you can sign into. In the past, this was all done via proxy or firewall, etc., that you could force all the traffic on a Chromebook through a proxy. But instead, we're making it even simpler. So if you already got a network that's set up for the filtering, you can just restrict to that network. Go ahead. as we mentioned, a lot of great new form factors are coming. Some people want reversible cameras because they want to start taking movies. We're seeing creating movies done, and a lot of people don't know that you can have a Chromebook that you can turn the camera around. So it's like, because otherwise it's very cumbersome, right? If the camera's this way and you're kind of trying to look at it and move it. I mentioned yoga form factors or convertible form factors. A lot of touch-based, a lot of very inexpensive devices. You're seeing some on here that are in the 150 range. Is very exciting. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, Cyrus. It means a lot for you to join in on the call, and I'll pick up here. Sitting with one of our amazing folks from the marketing team. But to kind of, I guess, capstone what Cyrus has talked about and exciting about where we're going. If you want to look up this case study, feel free to go to our Google short link. Please note it is case sensitive. But we worked with IDC to commission a study of the effectiveness of Chromebooks. And we were able to determine a number of factors and many of the things that Cyrus spoke to about, 61% lower cost of ownership, 68% less time for staff to manage the devices, 91% fewer reboots. A number of times I remember having to reload a computer just to get to doing work. I think one of my favorite stories, and I won't name them, but if they're listening to the call, they'll certainly know, is a district very small district in Georgia, and Cyrus spoke to this. Very, very limited in terms of the number of staff members they can have on the tech team, but actually decreased their tech ticket turnaround time after going one-to-one with Chromebooks from over 2 weeks to roughly 3 hours. And they're supporting everything from the phone systems to their interactive smart boards. So, it's I can personally attest to some firsthand examples of how the scalability of Chromebooks has truly revolutionized what they can do with their time. And if you're interested, here's a great report to talk to that. From there, I'm going to kick it back over to Becky now, I guess, who is a part of our Global Adoption Programs team, and she's going to talk to you about our professional development and our learning community. So thanks so much for being here, Becky, and it's all you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. You can go to the first slide. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about Google's professional development offerings. Next slide. So I want you guys to think for a second about prior training sessions. Have you ever been in a training session where you felt like this guy, extremely frustrated with what the presenter was saying? Perhaps you felt confused, like you had no idea what was being said or what was going on. Did that in turn make you feel angry? Like, why am I wasting my time doing this? And perhaps that led to you being distracted, taking out your phone or your tablet, zoning out, daydreaming in the training session. Well, the fact is that according to a recent survey by the American Federation of Teachers, 71% of educators said that the lack of sufficient training and professional development is what causes the most stress for teachers in the workplace. So that just goes to show you that we have a long way before we get to good PD for our educators. And so I guess the whole point of at least my part of the presentation today is to say, if you're investing in technology, if you are using the amazing Google tools that Brent described, or buying the amazing devices that Cyrus went into, you need to invest in professional development to make sure that your teachers understand how to really implement the tools in the classroom. And so what does Google offer in terms of professional development? So we like to, I guess, talk about this four-prong approach to PD. One, we offer training and courses, all online and relevant for educators. I'll go into each of these a little bit more detail after this. We offer certifications. We offer communities for groups of teachers to gather together and support each other. And then beyond grassroots support, we offer support through partners and trainers who can help provide professional training to your schools. Next slide. So let me dive into training and courses first. Our main, next slide. So when we were thinking about what we wanted to offer that would be really relevant for teachers, we realized that we had to have three main goals. One is training for all levels, because educators are coming in with all different levels of prior knowledge and prior experience with using technology in the classroom. And so we didn't want to create training just for people who are really tech savvy, or training for educators who have never even used a computer in the classroom before. And so we wanted to make sure that it crossed all levels. We wanted to make sure that there were standards influence and classroom-focused courses. So we looked at the ISTE standards, we looked at the UNESCO standards for technology in the classroom, and we based a lot of our content around those standards. And then finally, we wanted to make sure it was interactive, so that educators didn't feel that they were sitting in just another training session or going through just another online course. And so we tried to make it as interactive as possible. So going back to training for all levels, it's definitely based on the SAMR model as well. So moving from being able to substitute and augment what you're currently doing with technology, all the way to really redefining your teaching practice using technology. And so we have two levels of training in the training center. The fundamentals level, which is more on that S and the A part of the SAMR model, and then our advanced or level 2 training, which is more about transformation in the classroom. We have three themes that cut across both the fundamentals and the advanced level. So the first is engaging in professional growth and leadership. So how do you use technology, and particularly Google tools, to grow yourself as a professional, grow yourself as an educator, and really become a leader in the field. The second is increasing efficiency and save time. So again, how do you use technology in your classroom to save you time? And then third, and which I think is the most important, and actually the majority of lessons fall under this third category or third theme, which is how do we use technology to facilitate and inspire student learning and creativity. And through the myriad of products that we offer, there are lots of amazing ways for us to make sure that our students are being as creative as possible and collaborative as possible in the classroom. And so when you jump into the lessons, you'll see a variety of interactivity. So we have lessons where you do goal setting, and you jump into docs and you collaborate with other educators. Click. We have personal anecdotes from amazing educators across the globe who talk about the benefits of using these tools in the classroom. So it's multimodal. We have video and text and audio. Next slide. And then we also have lesson checks at the end of each lesson, so that you can show that what you've learned and really test your knowledge. And then finally, at the once you've gone through a few lessons, you can check your progress. And so at the side of the training center, there is a progress page where you're able to download your information as a PDF. You can show the number of hours you spent training on the training session, how many units you completed, and then if you go on to a certification, which I'll talk about in a second, you'll be able to see just your progress through our learning platform. So speaking of certifications, here we go. So we offer three categories of certifications. One is for educators, and like I mentioned, and within the educator training, we have level 1, which is fundamentals, and level 2 certification. We have a certification for trainers, and so this is for anyone who's going to be delivering training to other educators, whether you work at a school or work at a professional development partner. And then finally, we have our certification for innovators, and so the certification is for our EDU thought leaders who are really changing the game and coming up with transformative teaching practices and ideas to share with other educators. So in terms of the different benefits we've seen of getting a certification, primarily we've seen educators get a certification to build confidence for the skills that they've learned. So they spent all these hours going to the training center, and they want to show what they know. The second is just gaining recognition for your expertise. So you get a certificate and you get a badge that shows that you are a Google certified educator, level 1 or level 2, or a trainer or innovator. And that allows you to really, stand out among your peers in terms of your expertise. The third reason we've seen people get a certification is just to better their career mobility. And so we're seeing a lot of districts now giving salary credits or promotions even to people who have gotten a certain level of certification. And if you're interested in, if you're a classroom teacher and you're interested in perhaps moving outside of the classroom, you might want to, get one of the trainer innovator certifications. And then finally is getting access to a community of like-minded individuals. So obviously if you spent the time to go through all the training and take the certification, it means you're really motivated and probably pretty tech savvy. And so if you want to collaborate with other teachers around the world, we have certified educators everywhere that you can collaborate with. On the administrative side, the certifications help you to track your development across the school. So if you want to see how many educators or how many of your teachers are at a certain level of knowledge when it comes to using tech in the classroom, you can do that using certifications, and then obviously being able to reward those who have achieved a certain level of certification. Finally, well, not finally, sorry, third to last, we have our communities. And so, next slide. The primary way that we support communities are through Google Educator Groups. So Google Educator Groups, also known as GEGs, are communities of educators, again, around the globe, who learn and share and get inspired from each other. And so the groups meet online and also in person, and we currently have hundreds of Google Educator Groups around the world. So if you go onto the website, next slide, I think. Yeah, next slide is fine. You can find your local GEG, which has a Google Plus community attached to it, and then they often do hangouts to collaborate as well across GEGs. So if you just go to g.co/GEG, you'll be able to access our Google Educator Groups. And then finally, support. So we realized that in order to really implement an effective PD plan, you have to have time and commitment, right? This isn't something that you show up one day and you're like, okay, we're going to do teacher PD and have it all be work out the way it should. And so, it takes planning, it takes goal setting, it takes time, it takes personalization. It takes more time to sustain the training after the initial one is done, and it takes a will to engage and continue to collaborate around the learning process. And so we realize that, as districts, you guys have so much on your plate, and you may not have the expertise right now in order to get that vision together and implement a successful PD plan. So next slide. We've been working with professional development partners around the globe as well, who are certified through a rigorous process, and they really maintain the highest quality of professional development that we've seen delivered. They're really an extension of the Google team and are experts on all of our tools, and they align their materials not just with the training that we provide, but also the needs of your school district. So every school or school district or school community is different, and a PD partner can work with you to create a professional development plan that works for where you are and where your teachers are to get you where you want to be. Other ways to find support too, maybe you don't want to, you need to partner with, a full-on professional development partner, but you can get some of your staff. So if you have TOSAs or, ed tech trainers on your staff, you can get them certified as Google for Education certified trainers to go ahead and train your own internal staff, and that way you're building up your own personnel as well. And to search for all of these, you can check out our online directory, which has trainers, innovators, and reference schools that you can connect with in your area to share ideas and to get more support.
Great. Well, Becky, thank you so much again for being here and delivering that information. From there, I'm actually going to present some information on Google Classroom and Google Expeditions on behalf of Jen Holland, who's the program manager for Google Classroom. So, again, I mentioned earlier, and we'll mention this stat again, but over 10 million active users on Google Classroom. But we like to keep things pretty simple, and Classroom's fundamental goal for those of you who might be new to the Google world is the fact that we just want to provide mission control for teachers and students. We know that every classroom is on a mission, and you need some type of organization and control center to make great things happen. And so that's what really Google Classroom is all about. Prior to the existence of Google Classroom, we've had our Google tools, everything from Docs and Sheets and Slides, which are housed in Google Drive, to our Vault service, which allows for email archiving, Hangouts, which we're currently using right now to present to our amazing audience, Calendar, Gmail, and Sites. But until Google Classroom came into existence, these tools had to be managed quite manually by the teacher. So the great thing is Google Classroom kind of sits as an umbrella on top of these tools and allows for the teacher to have a much better facilitation process when it comes to sharing docs and assignments with teachers and students. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we're just really proud that it is Google's first app really that we've built specifically for education, and only educational institutions and nonprofits have access to it. Just to kind of give you again some idea around why this mission control is so important and what Google Classroom helps to achieve. Again, just like every other Google app for education, it's entirely free for educational users. I think, and I'm sure Jen would attest, we want to keep it as simple as possible while also, bringing in a lot of the amazing features that our users suggest. Those of you who have been using it since its inception, roughly a year and a half ago, would probably attest that we're pretty quick with taking feedback and making actionable change around it. But at the same time, we want to make it simple. I think most users find, you log in, you've got your Google account, you're already used to using Docs and Sheets, and we want to make it simple and easy to use for not only the educators, but also students as well. And fundamentally, it's just instant collaboration. I, as a teacher, can create one assignment, trying to think back to a third grade science lesson I might have been teaching, maybe on the habitats of the state of Georgia, fling that document to my students and share it with them uniquely with one click of a button so that they can work on the assignment on their own and send it back to me. So instant collaboration, very, very, very scalable, very seamless. Some of our more recent milestones you can kind of see approaching, I guess, being 2 years old. Google Classroom is, but bringing in Hangouts into Google Apps. Classroom, that happened just before Classroom was launched, midway through the beginning of the school year in 2014. Talking about Vault becoming Drive becoming unlimited and Vault entirely free for the educational domains, and you can really see here where we're bringing in like the mobile app for Classroom. I'll mention in just a little bit the Classroom API and the share button to try to make our tools better incorporate with developers in the world who are making these making great content and other tools that you use, and then some really exciting back to school launches that took place this year. I think this is basically a testament to the fact that Classroom will continue to evolve, and just like everything that we do here at Google, it will evolve with our users and our users' feedback in mind. Can't say it enough. Totally really proud of it. 10 million users and growing. So yeah, you can see some of the different schools, not only in the U.S. but abroad, who are using Google Classroom. So round of applause. Thank you to those of you who are our advocates and our daily users. We certainly couldn't do it without your support. Want to mention two ways in which other tools, we often get questions. And not only does our teams that work directly with our school districts, but the feedback that you all send in on a regular basis. How does Classroom integrate with tools that I'm already using? Cyrus alluded to this a little bit earlier, but we now have the share button, which, if I were in the classroom and found an interesting article or wanted to immediately share something that I find, on the internet or an assignment or video or something of that nature, not having to copy and paste that information or save it or download it and upload it, but simply share it directly to Classroom. So that is a feature that exists now. And our roster API. We announced, I guess, at the beginning of the current school year that APIs were a new thing for Classroom, and again, as we mentioned, the better integration with developers out there to figure out, how can we work with other products to in conjunction with Google Classroom. But I know, since this has been already occurring this school year, the roster API allowing the administrator for a school district to automatically create classes as opposed to students having to add themselves or the teachers having to create their own classrooms and add students to it. So that's the updates up until this point really with Google Classroom. As I mentioned, it will continue to evolve. We can't say it enough. Please, while you're using Google Classroom, use that little question mark in the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Send your feedback. Take screenshots. There are people listening, and I could probably walk up to you and point to them right now if we were to take a tour. But they do listen, and I think that's evidence in our continual evolution. And I have seen some mock-ups for where it's going to go. So get excited. Also, in the same vein, and Jen also has works with the Expeditions team. You can see our contact information there. Expeditions. I think back to even before I used Ask Jeeves, before the internet was even a thing, having a ViewMaster as a child and putting little slides in there and clicking around and taking myself on a tour. But I guess Expeditions is the 21st century version of a ViewMaster. And our goal, just like Classroom's goal, is to be mission control for classrooms. Expeditions is simply let's go places that school buses can't go. I'm sure every educator or anyone who's involved with education would admit that, or anyone at large for that matter, so much about our lives and growing and learning is being exposed to things, and often with cutbacks in funding and just the ability to go places, we're limited. So Expeditions is here to solve that. We want to inspire and engage. We want to harness the technology that we are able to create at Google, put it in the hands of classroom teachers, and allow them to stop what they're doing, have the students take a magic school bus journey of sorts to the Great Wall of China. Or one of my favorites is, I certainly will never be a mountain climber, never say never, but don't plan on being a mountain climber, but the ability for me to hike up the side of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park as if I were a mountain climber and sleep with them at night, see what it's like to sleep on the ledge and have to eat my dinner, wow, to be able to experience that is awesome. So let's inspire and engage not only students in the classroom, but every learner at large. So here's what we've got. Again, a consumer product that was probably maybe even more popular than we ever even imagined, a virtual reality headset. It's a piece of cardboard with 2 lenses and a smartphone with the Google Expeditions app installed. Really cool thing about our technology is that it's one app, so not lots of installations here and a different installation there. It's one app that you download on the student device or the teacher device, and it's smart enough to know, based upon the size of the device, whether to deliver the teacher content to that device or the student content. So you can see there with the dual vision, just like going to a 3D movie, works very similarly with the two screens. It's pop it in and put it to your head and off we go. It's pretty simplistic. And again, we are in a place right now where we're touring schools throughout the country to get great feedback, to get people excited about where this project will go. This is what it looks like now. Who's to say that down the road we won't have headsets that aren't attached to your head? Or again, we're just trying to figure out what's best and what our users need. So, mentioning, again, just some of the products that this team is working on, Classroom, working with Google Expeditions, and then making the world easily accessible through both. We're going to actually go ahead and I'll tell you a little bit about how Expeditions works, nuts and bolts side of things. We are, and the and the link will pop up again here again in just a moment. But we're going around the country right now in Subaru station wagons. It's the Google Expeditions Pioneer Program. You can see here where we're walking into classrooms. We're giving the teacher a tablet, which has amazing. We're taking 360-degree pictures. The teacher has full control over the screen, and then the students would have, again, their own individual headset that they would be viewing what the teacher actually sees on his or her tablet, just as you see right here, like the teacher content there, and then obviously the student viewers would be seeing whatever it is the teacher is directing them to. So it's not just a free-for-all. The teacher does have full control over the content that's being viewed. Amazing thing is we know that internet connectivity and infrastructure isn't always as reliable or as established as we would love for it to be. So there's no connectivity or login required. Currently, it runs off of a local server, essentially a router, or we even, as we're demoing it sometimes at conferences, we'll use our cell phone hotspot as the conduit between the teacher tablet and the student devices. We try to understand what all limitations might be and address those before we even launch a product. So this is our goal, and this is where we are currently. So this is what it looks like. This is the contraption that we would take underwater or up the side of the mountain to take all of those amazing 360-degree pictures. I'll go ahead and mention now, it's exciting. We are in a place where we're working with universities and colleges throughout the country to actually go on tours of college campuses. So a student in Florida can see what it would look like to go to school in Washington State, and for a student in Arizona to see what it might look like to go to a school in Maine, and enabling schools to actually, take this footage on their own. And this is what it looks like. It's pretty simple, just a bunch of cameras that take 360-degree pictures. Just to show you just a few, we have over, I think it's closing in on 200 expeditions roughly at this point, and more and more being added, every day. I go in, we've got everything from, geography tours, landforms, as you see there. We've seen some amazing opportunities for teachers in the English space to incorporate, the story of Romeo and Juliet, and actually go and take a tour of Verona, Italy, diving under the water with coral reefs. So we've partnered with some amazing folks like the Smithsonian and others to help us build this content and to provide these really rich experiences. Mentioned coral reefs. Here's a little bit about what what it actually looks like to dive into the lesson. So you can see here when we talk about content, and this certainly would be a piece of content that we're going to be offering educational institutions moving forward, is all the information. So I, as a teacher, don't have to sit and build a lesson plan. It's not just simply pictures that I'm showing my students. I have pre-built-in content that allows me to, walk through these tours with my students. I don't have to be an expert on, Machu Picchu. All that information would be there for me as I'm guiding my students through the tour. Here's a little example of what it would look like for a student if we were to take a deep dive. Down into the ocean. So yeah, there we are. You can see where there's actually the ring popped around the other scuba diver there. That's what it would look like if the educator were actually, wanting to point out certain features. You can see if the student veers away from where the teacher is requesting they be looking, or the content that they're looking at, it will redirect the student to look at, the topic that's being focused on at that point in time. And again, as you can see here, we're zooming over. There's the scuba diver that we're meant to be looking at as a class. So you can sign up today, g.co/expeditions. And again, try to become a part of the Pioneer program. You'll receive updates. I think it's really awesome to hear this team talk about how this was not even, maybe even a thought this time a year ago. And now we're, fully launched with folks who are, being able to experience it. I think we're closing in on tens of thousands of students at this point who have actually already been through tours. So it's exciting to see how quickly we can scale, especially with excited users such as yourself. So again, with that being said, that will conclude everything that we were discussing, and kind of wanted to give you some updates on for the 2016 year. I know we don't have the opportunity or a live audience for questions, but one of the things that I think is often overlooked is the fact that half the times when I'm working with school districts and they ask me a question, I'm actually sitting on Google.com Googling it myself. So with any of these tools that you've heard Cyrus or Becky or myself talk to you about, really, just take a look and potentially Google it. It should, should pretty be able to find it pretty easily. If not, you can reach us through our google.com/edu page, which has a lot of this information that we've already presented, or you can reach out to us there. Aside from that, there are some great learning communities on Google+, as Becky mentioned, so I would encourage you to look there as well. But thank you so much for your time. It means a lot that you would join us today, and we are looking forward to a great year and all the awesome stories that we know that you'll have to share. So keep up the good work. Thanks for the hard efforts that you have, and yeah, take care.